Welcome to your new home for football, where you'll get real international coverage from real football fans. We're talking Brighton, England, Birmingham, England, London, England, Glasgow, Scotland, Dublin, Ireland, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and St. Louis, Missouri. You'll get coverage from all the big time leagues. Join in on live day match watch-alongs. Enjoy live football debates. Nothing but all things football. Catch us live 8 PM UK time on Thursdays on all major platforms, or listen to us the next day on the Sports Social Podcast Network. This is Football Nation, your home for all things football.
Hey guys, this is Football Nation, your home for all things football. We've got a special guest today. We've got Ross from West Ham Network, the DJ at West Ham. Welcome to the stream, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you for having us, guys. Hope you're well. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all that jazz. Do we still say Happy New Year? I don't know, when do we stop?
Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, and I'm also joined by Chris and Boom. Before we start, we want to take a moment, and I think Ross is going to help with this, on the sad news yesterday that Chief Executive of West Ham and former Chief Executive of Birmingham passed away yesterday. So over to you, Ross. I think you knew him. You've met him a few times. And
yes. Yeah, I did. I've had the pleasure of meeting David several occasions whilst working at West Ham, and I mean, a lot of people outside of West Ham probably know much about him. Maybe in terms of him as a person, he was a massive West Ham fan, born literally across the road from the old stadium, famously 442 Green Street, as he always used to tell us, which was literally directly opposite the stadium at the Bowling Ground. He played youth team football at West Ham from 13 to 15, and then I think he played in the sort of the older youth teams as well at West Ham. Obviously, we know he was a really successful businessman. Bought the club in summer of 2010 with David Sullivan. Controversially, at that first meeting, first press conference, said they were going to be moving to the London Stadium, hopefully, what was now the London Stadium, what was the Olympic Stadium at the time, and obviously a lot of controversy there, but to be honest, if it wasn't for him and Mr. Sullivan, we may well have not had a club, to be fair, because we had a big thing around the Icelandics, and we had the Biscuit Barons, and we had like 2 or 3 shirt sponsors which ended up going liquidated, and the economy in Iceland fell on its arse, so they did bail us out somewhat. And yeah, he's always seen as the friendly face, so to speak, of what is the ownership at West Ham. So always a very affable, lovely man to talk to. Had enough time for lots of people. Some nice tributes you'll see, even from the likes of Millwall and various others, of what he meant to people. He was, despite what people thought about the move to the Olympic Stadium, although it's now the London Stadium, he was a father, he was a granddad, he was a friend to many people. So he will be sadly missed, and often referred to as DG rather than David Gold, because there was too many Davids at West Ham. And yeah, really, really sad news. Obviously 86. So a good innings, as people say. He was a lovely man, and condolences obviously to his family and friends as well. So yeah, we'll obviously be doing. We haven't got another home game until I think it's Everton in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. So we'll be doing a proper tribute then. But obviously they did a small tribute yesterday at Ellen Road, which was nice.
You also said you were a piece on your website about it, if people want to go read
that.
Yeah,
little short sort of synopsis, sort of not a bit, so to speak, obituary, so to speak, but a little bit more about him as a person. See on the WestHamNetwork.com if you're interested. It's not that long of an article, but it's something to give a bit more information about a lot of his charity work and stuff, which obviously that doesn't tend to get highlighted when people are moaning about stadiums and stuff.
I didn't actually realise that he used to be the chief executive at Birmingham as well.
Yeah, Yeah,
before that.
with David and with David Sullivan and Karen Brady as well. The three of them, the Three Musketeers. It was at Birmingham for several years as well. So, but it sort of went full circle. Having being able to purchase your boyhood club. There's not many chairmen out there, particularly in the Premier League, who are boyhood fans of the club they actually own. And we took. He had a relatively big chunk of shares. Him and David Sullivan. About 18 months ago, Daniel Krasinski, who's a Czech businessman, he bought some of David Gold's shares as well as some of the other shares of the minor stakeholders. So actually, he was the third. So he wasn't the main or the second shareholder. David Gold was. He was the third shareholder in that. So, but still very much would be cheering the team on at all the games.
Yeah, Chris and Boom, did you have anything to add on that before?
Yeah, I mean, from obviously from a kind of fan standpoint, it's still not. It's like you said, he's a boyhood West Ham fan. And he got to be a part of his.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Not like you said, not many people can say that, which is like you said in the Premier League, especially anywhere in the world. Not many people can say that they owned their boyhood club, and plus that was a nice tribute.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish we could say that about United, that we own, that didn't have who we had, and we had like boyhood United fans instead of the Glazers, but that's another issue. Boom, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm not. Everything that's been said has been said. I just put my condolences to the family, and everyone at West Ham that has to unfortunately deal with that situation.
Yeah, lovely tribute in chat. We've got some West Ham accounts in, which is lovely.
Of course we do.
Yes, so we will now go on into the Premier League results. I'll go over to Chris to start, and we got Brighton 2 versus Arsenal. Very good game. 2-4 to Brighton. 2-4 to Arsenal. Two really good teams. And over to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting to that stage on, obviously, like Chelsea kind of allegiances. I'm hating it. I bet you are as well, Russ, with the West Ham. You're like, Arsenal. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've been outstanding this season. Everyone thought kind of after the World Cup, obviously losing Jesus, they would lose some kind of form, if you know what I mean. But they've just kept on rolling. Martinelli's playing out his skin. Odegaard. This is the Odegaard that Real Madrid thought they were going to be buying, but he's been outstanding so far this season. And only thing I can say is stopping him could be Man City. That's the only thing I can see. But Man City's results have not been consistent enough. If especially like over the weekend there, we'll touch upon it with the Man City game against Everton. But yeah, it's a weird season. It is a very weird season. Obviously, DJRussyB coming in at Brighton, taking over from Graham Potter. They've just they went from strength to strength as well. It's like Potter's laid the foundation to DJRussyB, but DJRussyB's added to it. He's attacking minded. He's very, very good.
I also want to really shout out the Irish youngster Evan Ferguson. He's come on from strength to strength. Started with that Arsenal game where he got his first goal from the Premier League, and he's carried it onto the other game Brighton had against Everton, creating a goal and assist in that one. So I am excited for that young lad's future from an Ireland perspective.
Yeah, definitely. He does look good. Did you have anything to add on that, Ross?
No. no, yeah. I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? I think it's exciting. Arsenal. The way they're it's giving. I mean, we don't genuinely, unless you're like from Arsenal, you don't generally think that they're gonna probably do it because you think, City are just City. They can turn it on whenever they want. But, it will give it a couple of months and then we'll start thinking about it. Pipe down over there, hit North London. But, I mean, I think Brighton is fantastic. Everyone talks about what a great manager Graham Potter is. I think Brighton have improved since getting rid of Potter. In all honesty, where Chelsea have gone like that, Brighton have gone like that, and West Ham have never beaten Brighton in the Premier League. They are literally our bogey team. We've never beaten them in the Premier League, and we obviously lost this season as well to them. But no, it's good to see. I mean, he's playing some really attractive football, Brian. So fair play to him.
I'm hoping Evan can be the answer to Brighton's goal-scoring problems. Because it works well for the Irish Republic. Because we've been missing a goal scorer in the last few tournaments.
I was about to
There's our newest team member in the chat there.
I was just about to add. Did you want to go on to that, Chris, before we go on to the
quickly,
next game?
quickly before we move on to the next game. I just want to welcome Jade, who you just seen in the chat there, and also Paul. Sorry, is it Paul? Yeah, Paul, the FM recruiter, who have joined the Football Nation podcast team as of today. You'll be seeing them soon on streams and on content, hopefully soon as well. So, yeah, just wanted to congratulate them on joining the team.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
Which kind of falls in nicely. As Jade is a Newcastle supporter, and this is our next game.
So we had Newcastle 0, Leeds 0. I'm going to send that to you, Boom. What was your thoughts on the Newcastle 0, Leeds 0 game?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember much from a 0-0. I just good defending, not much good clinicalness. And it's honestly the same in they had another 0-0 against Arsenal. Very, very good from Nick Pope. That man is when we get to fantasy again, that man, very good for keeping up points and clean sheets. But 2 0-0s in a row now for Newcastle. They're staying up there.
Yeah. I thought they would get the win against Leeds. Leeds have been a weird team this year.
They've been up and down, Leeds.
Yeah, I thought Newcastle would win that quite comfortably because the way they've been playing, and I think they will get top 4. Have you got anything to add on that, Russ?
I mean, it was a good game. I ended up watching it when I was on holiday because because every game's on US TV, so you can watch all the games rather than having to find dodgy streams. And I thought Newcastle huffed and puffed, but didn't really have that end product for that game. Leeds were quite dogged, and yeah, I mean, I still don't know about Newcastle top 4. I'll be honest. I think you look at some of the purchases that are going to happen. Although they can buy players as well. But I mean, look at Chelsea, buying Balashili today, who's an absolute beast. He's a phenomenal player. Him, Koulibaly, they've got some beefy defenders. And it's all right having the money to buy players, but it's our play exactly, and players going to go just for the money. I mean, you look at Ronaldo. He's going to Qatar, but if you qualify, I'll come and play for you on loan. It's just like how has that got? I know why, because it's the Saudi money, but you think seriously, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be like, piss off, you either come to us or don't come to us. It's like, I'll be your friend if you've got the football. If they haven't got the football, I'm not going to be your friend. So, I mean, I still think Newcastle might fall by the wayside. I mean, again, it's their team is all individual. It's not necessarily individuals, but it's the sum of all the parts. And I don't think Longstaff would get in most teams from the top 5 upwards, but he's playing well in that formation. So is Joe Linton and stuff like that. So fair play to him.
Yeah.
Jade has popped in with the chat. So Leeds came and sat with a defensive back 5 and a 4. Defended well, tried to break it down, but still, like you just said there, missing components and break a team like that. Overall, it is a good. It is a good point. I mean, Leeds, like we did say, are a stuffy team to play against. They're a very stuffy team. It's like 1 week they could be absolutely outstanding. The next week they could be bang average, or they could get absolutely hammered off or someone. It's you never know what you're going to get with Leeds. But Newcastle, I still think they're missing a clinical striker. Obviously, Isaac's back in training for them now. He could be playing, I think, this week again in the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's bad about that injury. I think if he didn't have fit, I think he could have been that striker this season.
I still think, like you just said, Russ, Longstaff isn't the player for me beside Guimaraes. See if they can get like a Teal. I mean, there's talk about Tielemans going there on a free transfer. There's also talk about the Moses Caicedo from Brighton going there as well, and possibly even a James Maddison, who's also been heavily linked with Newcastle. But are those the kind of players that Newcastle should be targeting, or do you think they should be targeting players that will fit that kind of system that Eddie Howe is trying to play?
I think Eddie's he's got a system he wants to work, and it's working well. I mean, the fact that you can adapt Joel Linton from what was an absolute, pig of a centre forward to sort of a defensive midfielder and sort of he was playing wing. I think that Leeds game as well. It shows that he's that takes a good manager to be able to adapt and to give players the confidence to be able to do that. And I mean, Moisey did it with people like Pablo Fornals and people like that. He was bought as a 10, then he became a sort of box to box midfielder and various others. It takes a good manager to do that, and so I think he needs. It surprised me over the summer that they didn't go out and splurge, but I know they couldn't splurge too much because of financial fair play. But still, you think. With the money available.
Word? Never heard of that word before. I mean, Man City and...
I know. But you're not... But I think Newcastle's not in that greedy six yet, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they'll get the book thrown at them because all the other...
my last point on Leeds is that the reason why they're in that relegation battle still.
Patrick Bamford. He's
one of the many reasons.
Yeah. But I mean, Leeds. I think they'll be fine, but I think they could.
Yeah, I think there's worse teams than Leeds in that relegation battle.
They're just going to buy RB Salzburg out of relegation to stay up. For the sound of it. Did you see Salzburg tweeted saying?
Another one, and another one. Yeah, it's like give us it. Nope. It's good.
Yeah. So the next game was a surprising one. Man City won versus Everton. My notes is Haaland again, of course, and a great goal by Gray.
Amazing.
A better result, Everton, than the one they had after this, which has probably put Lampard's job in jeopardy.
It's amazing how you can go from getting a beautiful result against City to getting absolutely destroyed
by Brighton. Yeah.
It's just how the Premier League is this season.
What's your thoughts, Chris, on the 1-1 draw? Bad result for Man City.
It is a bad result for City. The thing is with City, they never started. They started the game at full pace as usual, but when City got that goal, they couldn't break down that Everton team. Everton played well against City, and that's the thing. But the thing is with City, if Haaland gets injured, they've only got really a World Cup winner to come in and to play for them. That's the thing. But there's the creativity from De Bruyne has been, especially this, I would say maybe since the World Cup. Coming back from the World Cup has been okay, but it's not the levels we expect from De Bruyne that we have seen in the past. Foden, he's not came back that well since he came back from England. He's been hit and miss, I would say. But the thing is, it's a great point for Everton. But like Boom just said there, to back it up getting absolutely hammered off of Brighton in midweek, it goes from great to absolute despair for Frank Lampard, and
I think his time. Yeah, I don't think he's
there.
He's not going to be there much longer.
With City, I've watched them a few times. I think they've started to get over reliant on the robot in Haaland. He'll get goals, but I think they're trying to get him.
Yeah, I think
goals
it's affected the whole
and
team.
It's affecting. some of their talented, because they're not really trying to go the passing that they did in the last few seasons to score. It's just always Haaland's in the box.
Yeah.
He's there somewhere. Get it to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think they're the fluid team they have been previous seasons. I think obviously Haaland is amazing, but I think it's effective.
But they had to adjust their entire. They've been playing. I've said it before. They played the last 3 seasons without a striker.
Yeah,
and they changed. Now they're putting in a striker into the mix. You have to change your tactic. Yeah. It's not fully working at 100% for Man City. This.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. Anything to add on that?
No, totally agree with what Boom says. Yeah, I mean they've in essence had to completely change the way they've played to accommodate having a striker, which seems a bizarre concept, but that's what they've done. I mean he's a beast, Haaland is a beast, and I think as you said, if he gets injured, they've got Alves, who I absolutely adore. I think he's a generational star. He's going to be Alves is going to be the next sort of
I feel bad for Alvarez that they have Haaland there that he can't
get in the team. Yeah, but he's. I mean, you've got someone like where at the moment you've got Mbappe and Haaland and people like that. He's going to be the part of the next generation. Maybe with someone like Darwin Núñez or someone like that. So we're very fortunate to have these players in the Premier League. But I think I think Everton. It's a typical. Bit like us, really. Always up for the big games, always up for the big teams. But when you play someone in a lesser team, so to speak, you just seem to take your foot off the gas a little bit. I don't understand why, but it does tend to happen. When you play in the cities and stuff, you're almost like you're pumped up a little bit more because you're playing against Erling Haaland, you're playing against De Bruyne rather than necessarily against McAllister and Welbeck, for example.
Yeah. Just quickly, it is currently Chelsea 0, Man City 1. Riyad Mahrez has just scored for our City.
Okay, fair enough.
Can't even rely on Chelsea to defend.
Yep.
Yeah.
All you had to do was get a result in that game for us.
Shut up.
Next we had Fulham 2-1 against Southampton. Pereira, he's playing well good for Fulham. A player that was always on the fringes for us, and we called him pre-season Perlo. He'd come up pre-season, be amazing, and just never been seen the rest of the season. And he's gone off Fulham, and he's playing really well.
It's one of those things where certain players work better in different teams rather than being in the pressure of being in for example, when Russell when Lingard went to West Ham, wonderful season at West, comes back to United, not as influential as he was at West Ham. It just certain players work in certain teams and don't work in others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And change the scenery, change the format. Maybe a manager who's put his arm around him. In terms of Mario Silva, Silva's a very good manager as well. So maybe make him feel like he's 10 feet tall. And
I think he's got to be up. I think your standouts are like Arteta and Newcastle, but I think Eddie Howe, but I think he's got up there for manager of the year. If you compare him, it's like his third stint in the Premier League. Yeah. He's been sacked by Watford and Everton. He did, and he's completely changed his football. And he's gone from playing so negative to playing really good football. It just proves, as you say, the right club at the right time.
Yeah,
and I think Fulham is that right club for him. Also, though, what a goal by Pereira. By James Ward-Prowse. What a free kick.
Yeah.
I mean,
what a free kick.
He's just a cheat code of free kicks. That's all I can say about that.
We were talking offline before we started, and Chris said that he's got to leave soon. But I said if he leaves in this January, it basically confirms they're running. They might as well. Southampton might as well not play.
But Southampton following that loss with another loss against Forest, which is the relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah,
is a very tough one. Southampton's defensive issues are just.
Yeah, but if they sold as James Ward-Prowse, you're basically confirming their relegation already.
But you think you look at defenders like Bella, he looked very good, but for some reason that defensive line that they have is just not working.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think he'll ever. I think James Ward-Prowse is one of those players, a bit like Mark Noble. He'll never. I don't think he'll ever leave Southampton. I mean, we were heavily linked to him in the summer, and so were Newcastle, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And he basically came out and said, "I'm not going to." He's basically settled. He's got a young family. They're settled in Southampton. He's earning good money. He's playing for his boyhood club as well. So I don't think he'll ever, unless it's a silly wage and a silly. And everything can be sorted in terms of his family. He very much seems like family first rather than career first. So I don't think he'll ever leave Southampton unless it's maybe at the end of a contract or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Unless I think if they got relegated, I think he would.
Maybe. Yeah.
He's too good for the Championship, but I think if they're in the Premier, as long as they're in the Premier League, I think they're all right. I think he'll stay there. What's your thoughts on this game, Chris?
I've not really seen it. I've only seen the kind of brief highlights, but like you said, James Ward-Prowse, like we kind of commented before, I think he kind of has to leave if he was to get back in that England team, that kind of England setup type of thing. Which, I mean, it's difficult to break into that midfield as it is, but it's maybe something to think about because you've also got the Euros coming up in 2 years' time.
I think with Southgate there, I think that ship has sailed for James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, but I like Ward-Prowse, but what's he got other than set pieces? He's not really got much else. He doesn't drive teams forward. He's a captain, but he's only really good for a set piece. That's what Pep Guardiola said. He's the best set piece taker in the Premier League, out with De Bruyne. Yeah. But it's a shame what's happened to Southampton because they have got good players. They picked the wrong manager. Nathan Jones, who's never been managed in the Premier League.
He's only done well with Luton.
Yeah. It is a bit of a strange appointment.
It is, but I think for a it was quite a progressive appointment. I thought it was like he was someone who was touted as a good young manager, and they did it at the right time if they were going to do it because then you've got the 6 weeks of the World Cup, and obviously Wolves did the same thing with Lopetegui, and again that hasn't really worked for them Wolves, so it was a strange appointment, but I think it was more of a progressive one. I mean, Ralph Husler was a strange left field as well. They were all Premier League experience, so they've got form. They've got form in that world.
Yeah, I think Southampton fans are turning them. I think it's the quickest I've seen that Premier League manager be turned on already, and they're already turning on him, and it's not looking good.
I mean, this one's going to be a massive month for Jones. If he can't get any players in, I'm sorry, but I think it's going to be curtains for Southampton this season.
I mean, they have to play City in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup.
Moving on. Next, we had Bournemouth 0, Palace 2. Brentford. Bournemouth 0, Palace 2. Over to you, Crazy Boom, on that.
Bournemouth are just not very good in my opinion.
They're not.
Like, I saw them against that, and then I saw them afterwards against Man United. Just defensively, they're just not there.
I mean, looking at their team, they've got okay players. I mean, the one I like the most is Philip Billing. I think he's a good player. They signed that Sense from Italy.
Good player.
But it's a goalkeeper. It's a goalkeeper I'm looking at. Mark Travers. He got dropped.
What's about the third choice goalkeeper, Mark Travers, for Ireland?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look at,
I mean, there's a reason why he's our third choice behind two youngsters that never really played.
I mean, you look at
they bought Neto, who got injured.
Yeah, I mean, but you look previously, you had like Artur Boric, you had who's a Polish international. You had Begovic as well.
Begovic, yeah.
Two good quality Premier League goalkeepers.
Yeah.
They need to. That's a position they need to look at. But again,
Travers got dropped after losing the 9-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah,
and then Neto took his place till Neto got fully injured, and then they've had to put Travers back into the mix. Unfortunately,
yeah. But the thing is, with them, they've not got out and out quality going forward. You've got Kiefer Moore, who's okay for for them. And you got Dominic Solanke. I mean, Solanke done it. Couldn't do it at Chelsea. Couldn't do it at Liverpool. Did not have a spell at West Ham at one point as well.
No,
Yeah, but even if you have Solanke and stuff, they didn't even do, like, I saw them against United, and they didn't do what I thought you would do with those players, like hoof it up to them like Solanke.
Yeah,
so they could do it. They were trying to play proper football with those type of players. So like, play to their strengths if you're gonna have Solanke and Kiefer Moore up top for you.
Yeah, definitely.
but apart from that, I think Bournemouth are one of the three that'll probably get relegated this season.
I agree. I think Bournemouth, Southampton are gone.
Yeah.
I'd say. Palace though. Obviously, we keep speaking about up and down season again for Palace. Really rate their manager. I don't think it's going to be as good season as last season.
Went from beating Bournemouth 2-0 to losing 4-0 to Spurs.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. But yeah, I think they're going to be easily mid-table. They're not going to be anywhere near relegation, I don't think. They're going to be safe, but not much.
There's a normal season for Palace, to be fair. They usually go around like mid-table for the last few seasons.
I do really rate the manager though. Next we had Wolves 0, Manchester United
1.
Don't even know your own team's results, John.
I was scrolling down. Manchester United 1. We got the win. Not as comfortable as some of the other results we've had recently, but we just keep.
In fairness, over the last few years, Wolves has very much been our bogey team.
A bogey team, yeah.
Especially at Wolves has really been a struggle for United in the last few years.
Yeah, I agree, and we just keep picking up points.
It's good for Rashford.
Rashford
really
another goal,
form.
and then he got another goal. The game after that as well, he's really in form.
He was in the bad books in the Wolves game though in the beginning.
Yeah, the form that what Ten Hag's done with him is, I don't know what he's done with him, but he's really transformed the player. Like he looked so tired, like he didn't want to be there last season. He just fed up, and I think our new attacking coach is a massive part of that. And I was also reading the first 25 games with Ten Hag, Pep Guardiola, Arteta, and Jurgen Klopp, and Tuchel. Tuchel and Pep had 56% win percentage, which is the second best, and Ten Hag is on top after 25 games with 73% win percentage after 25 games.
If we take away the first 2 games of the season, we have the second best form.
Yeah.
In the Premier League this season,
which I'm very impressed with. I'm really happy with how
we're going. And we're started to win games, whereas last season we would have dropped points in these type of games. Would have been 0-0. Would have lost them at the very end. Because Wolves, with the new man, look at that, were actually a lot better than I've seen them all season in that game. They were really going for it. But we could see their problems with the reason why they signed Koundés is they didn't really have anyone to put in the ball in the net for them. They kept crossing it. They even took off their striker to put on Adama Traore, and he was crossing to no one at several points in that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Koundés is a really good signing for them.
Although Lacapetegi, a very angry man. He's very vocal.
Angry man. I rate that appointment though. I think he'll do well. Do you have anything to add on that, Ross?
Obviously we played Sevilla last year, and obviously he was the manager of Sevilla, and I was always kept an eye out for him since. I mean, I think Wolves are he's a good appointment. It's all about who he brings in, really. As you said, to bring on a Adama Traore to cross to their defenders, it didn't really help much. But that's the trouble, and it's that striker which every club wants. Every club, particularly in that sort of struggling, it's about attracting players, and obviously he's probably got an ace over the likes of Southampton and Leeds and people like that, in that he can attract Portuguese people through obviously the Mendes connection, but also La Liga, that's it, La Liga and players through his connections in Spain. So they can, but again, can they get players over who are going to adjust the Premier League? It's very, very different in terms of style, in terms of pace and physicality. So it's interesting to see what they do in January, and if they've got any money to spend as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Do you have anything to add on that game, Chris?
Nope. Just Rashford getting another goal, which is good for his confidence again. But apart from that, there's not really much else. You've kind of covered it all.
Yeah. What about you, Beam?
And I'm just happy for the United. Look like they're building to the future. I think Wolves have something also to build on from the games that I've seen recently since the new manager has taken over.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. As I say, I really rate Lopetegui. I think he'll do well. Next, we have West Ham 0, Brentford 2. Sorry, Ross. Did you want to start us on this one?
I'd missed the game because I was in Orlando, so I saw it on telly. So quite luckily. Frustration that game. Brentford again a similar sort of bogey team to Brighton for us. It seems any team at the moment is a bogey team, to be fair. But came up with. I mean, Moisey tried something different. He went 3 at the back. He dropped Thomas Souček. He played Paqueta with Declan Rice as a 2 in midfield rather than Paqueta as a number 10. He was playing more of a sort of a deep lying midfielder. And for the first 20 minutes, it worked really well. We had some playing really good football. But then we got down on a couple of counter-attacks, a couple of sucker punches from Brentford. And Thomas Frank had a game plan, and it was perfect. It worked out perfectly. Trouble is, we play him again on Saturday with the FA Cup, so that'd be fun. But it was, it's the tale of West Ham at the moment. It just seems, we defensively very poor. Defensively, we weren't at the races, and Ivor Toney was brilliant, and obviously went off injured. And hopefully he's not out for too long. But they were very, very strong. They're very, very pacey on the counter attack, and I think Brentford are a very good side, well drilled, and just a very well organised club.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've said it before. I think they're one of the best run clubs in the Prem. The way they do their recruitment is really good, and I hope Ivan Toney's not out for too long. Do you have anything to add on that, Chris?
Not really. Just again, Toney scoring the goals. But I've got to get. I mean, looking at that Brighton team again, they're not full of stars or anything like that. They're just a well-oiled machine. Brentford. Thomas Frank has got them playing some really nice football, and as we'll come to kind of later on, we've got the game against Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, Brentford look good. They've got the best record against the top 6 as well, which is not many teams can say that. But I like Brentford. I hope they're building themselves up, but I just hope they can keep hold of some of their good players as well in January and next season as well.
Yeah, I think the way they run though, I think if they do lose a few, they are really good at the recruitment. So I think they are really good at if someone does leave.
I think it's like kind of players like Toney, like the goal, their main man. Because obviously there's clubs kind of be sniffing around Toney, etc. But as well, he wants to go. Plus, with all the kind of things in the background with Ivan Toney, we don't know what's happening with that. But he's still world class. I wouldn't say world class. He's still a very, very good Premier League goal scorer.
Definitely. Yeah, and Boom, have you got anything to add on that game?
West Ham, like we said, just not at the races defensively. We saw that also with like the letting the lead slip that they got back against Leeds.
Yep.
They did well to go back in front in that game, to get in front in that game after being behind, and then just defensive issues again. Just David Moyes has a lot to sort out in that regard.
Yeah. And it feels like me last season when I was talking about United game and I was depressed. But we're going to go over to Chris now for Forest 1, Chelsea 2.
My PC's blown up right now.
A weird start to that game, Chris, with your first goal. The goal Chelsea actually. It's a weird defending from Forest.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Sterling took his goal well, but other than that, I just don't know where Chelsea are going with their plans. The Nuts is now, I think, spent 370 or £400 million on a brand new defence. Fofana, now we've got 10 players out injured. Fofana's out injured. Chilwell's out injured. Reece James is out injured.
You even look at some of the signings like Aubameyang and stuff. Like even today, he came on for your injured player and subbed off again before the end of the game.
Wow.
I don't get the. I just don't get the. I'm really lost for words because this isn't the Chelsea that everyone knows. Chelsea are always hard to beat. They're always difficult to play against. They've always got attacking threat. Sometimes I don't even know where the goals are going to come from Chelsea nowadays. They've got players I don't think know what it means to be playing for Chelsea. I mean, you look back in the day, Drogba, Lampard, Terry, Carvalho, Petr Cech, Ashley Cole, Michael Essien and Michael Ballack, players that epitomise the way Chelsea used to play. I don't see that with this Chelsea team. I just see players that's wearing the blue of Chelsea with getting 300, 400 grand, whatever it is a week. It's poor, in my opinion, it's poor recruitment. And that's got to be down to the manager and the hierarchy as well.
You're struggling for goals with only like one goal difference at the moment.
Yeah.
The goal difference of one.
And then we're bringing in this boy Fofana, who's never been tried and tested in the Premier League. As Russ said earlier on, Barashila. I'm happy with Barashila because he's an absolute monster of a defender. He's 21 as well, so.
And then wasn't that Santos or whatever?
The boy
the
from
midfielder,
yeah. We had a chat offline. I don't know who he is. Never heard of him in my life.
Neither, but then Fabrizio Romano brought him up, and I was like, "Oh, there's the player."
Yeah, you're also getting that guy from Leipzig, aren't you?
Technical director. Yeah, he's been announced.
No,
he's been announced.
And
Nkunku. Yeah, Nkunku. Yeah,
that's summer. I think you could use him now. I think
they tried to get Enzo Fernandez, but that deal has pretty much collapsed.
Yeah, they want
126 million.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Hughes only wanted to pay 85 million.
Yeah, they actually paid 10 million for him in the summer, and they want 120 million in January.
Because that's his release clause. They don't want to sell him till the summer, Benfica. So
I'm hoping he doesn't go because I want him, and I'm hoping the new owners can buy him in the summer for us. So I'm hoping it does collapse. But that is crazy.
It's just crazy money.
Yeah.
But Benfica are entitled to ask whatever they want. It's their player. I think he's got
and he has a really and Benfica pretty much have said, the manager of Benfica pretty much said, we don't want to sell him till the summer.
Yeah.
You've got to question the attitude though of a player who's been there 6 months and is refusing to go to training because an offer comes in when he's only been at the club for 6 months.
I mean, Chelsea has convinced him that he wants to go. It's just the Premier League club comes in for you.
Yep.
Head turns.
Yep. But apart from that, I've got nothing else to mention about Chelsea, and they're still getting beat 1-0. So more depression.
Do you have anything to add on that, Russ?
No, not really. I'm a fan of Graham Potter. I'd love Chelsea to sack him, and then he comes to West Ham.
You can have him,
but yeah. But
I think he's more suited to West Ham than the Chelsea.
I think it was it was a proper leap to go to Brighton to Chelsea. You almost want like an interim, like a West Ham player go to a Chelsea.
Yeah.
But for me, I just think an interesting point what Chris said in terms of like that sort of what it is to play for Chelsea, and I think that's again a trait which I think a lot of clubs are losing now. Is they're getting these superstars, getting these players in from different countries and. As you said, we've some people like Drogba, and they was very much in the ethos of what it was to be a Chelsea player. Now you're bringing in almost a whole new side each year, or a whole new defensive unit, or a whole new midfield. We did it in the summer. We brought in loads of new players. It hasn't worked yet because they haven't gelled, and there's that you need some sort of continuity, and there is no continuity at Chelsea at the moment. unless apart from Mason Mount or someone like that who's there to keep that sort of Chelsea-ness going, and I think that's really important for all clubs.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of Chelsea's core is like gone from what won the Champions League.
I mean, you look at that one. Like you just said, that Mason Mount and Reece James, they're the only two. It's and Azpilicueta as well.
Yeah,
that's the only three I would say that know what it means to play for Chelsea.
Yeah,
because Azpilicueta has been there for 11 years. He's been the captain for 6 of them since obviously John Terry and Gary Cahill left. But Mason Mount, he's been off the boil for the last 12 months, I would say. Reece James has been injured more often than not. I think right. I'm willing to give Potter the benefit of the doubt because it's a massive, massive jump from Brighton to Chelsea. It's a massive club, but when you're at Chelsea, you demand the best. When you demand trophies, you demand attacking football, you demand actually playing for the top.
I mean, you have to question because at the moment you're intent.
Yeah, I'm looking at the table just now. We've scored 20 goals out of 17 games.
Yeah.
And conceded 19. We've got 1 goal difference. It's not good enough for Chelsea.
I think I kind of see it like similar to us there. Like obviously they've got the new owner in, and it's kind of like I kind of see like an Ed Woodward situation. Like he's obviously taken over all the till they finally got a director in football in now.
I described him as a kid in a sweet shop.
Yeah,
transfers.
He's taken over all the transfers, and it doesn't seem that he's speaking to the manager about what they want. It's kind of what he wants.
Also, Chris, what's up with Jorginho?
Injured.
He was on the bench in today's game.
It's a similar thing. Obviously, he's thinking about Todd is, he comes from an American sport background, and they chop and change their coaches in season 2-3 times maybe. They don't. There's no loyalty. You look at I don't know how long the longest NFL coach or but it's not very long at all. So it's a different mentality. Sport is in America. So in terms of it is the owners are the ones who have most of the power. And so it's not surprising that he's trying to. It's almost like Moneyball. It's almost surprising he's trying to take that over to here. I mean, that's why I was really surprised when they got Potter. They didn't go and get a Zinedine Zidane or someone a big name. They got someone who's a relatively really good football coach. He was a coach rather than necessarily a manager. Yeah. And I was really impressed by that as a bit like sort of how Newcastle have kept Eddie Howe, but it just hasn't worked. It's almost like
Todd is the man who came up with the brilliant idea of the All-Stars game.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the first thing he did, wasn't it? All Stars.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on before Chris gets depression. On to another team with depression, and that's Spurs. And that's Spurs 2-0 Villa. Villa returning, getting on some good form under their new manager.
Good evening.
Good evening. Spurs. Disappointing again. They're trying to play defensive football with a shite defense, basically, and that's their issue. Over to you, Chris.
Another howler from Lloris. That's all I need to say. It's another howler from Lloris. Yeah. How Spurs have not went out and got a good first choice goalkeeper, it baffles me. He's been woeful for a good couple of years. I mean, okay, they've got Fraser Forster. I mean, I love big Fraser Forster from the time at Celtic, but they need somebody like, see, a good young up and coming goalkeeper like the boy at Porto, Diego
Costa.
Diego Costa, the one from or even the go and get if you want to win something, go and get Jan Ogbak from Atletico Madrid. They're not having a great season, but if you can offer Champions League football, European football, go and get something like that.
Spurs conceded at least 2 goals in 7 consecutive Premier League matches.
Yeah.
I mean,
or Martinez at Villa.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Martinez, exactly. But I'm looking at that Spurs team. You've got a World Cup winning Christian Romero played at the weekend. Longley, who is is bang average.
Ben Davies, I'm not impressed.
Matt Doherty, Basuma. I like Basuma. I think he's a brilliant player when he was at Brighton. It hasn't worked for him at Spurs. Hoiberg,
Perisic as a left wing back. Yeah, always questioned. He's a right wing back and he can play that position, but he's never really played left wing back.
I mean, Brian Gill, they're trying to get rid of him. They're trying to get rid of him in the summer to go back to Spain. And Harry Kane hasn't hit the form, and Son's been off the boil as well. But Spurs, Conte, I like Conte, but his football does not suit the Premier League anymore. It's too negative. He's back. The back three doesn't suit anyone anymore. Back four is the way to go. Kind of solidify the back line, especially a poor defence like Spurs.
Yeah, I think their defence is the issue. I richly rate one player, their Argentina, in that chap in their defence. I don't rate any of their other defenders.
I mean, coming from an Irish black guy, I do rate Matt. I don't think he's your top six kind of right back but I do rate him as a right back.
Yeah,
he was brilliant for Wolves.
I see they want to buy another right back, and they're linked with Dumfries.
They have too many right backs. They don't need another right back.
Didn't they just go and spend money on that?
They had dead Spence, yes, and they don't even play him. And literally, he got on for like 5 minutes, actually 3 minutes for the Villa game, and they said the commentator literally said this is the earliest Conte has put him on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the point?
I don't think Conte will be there at the end of the season.
No.
I don't.
They need a left back, but they bought one and then loaned him back.
And I don't think he'll get sacked. I think he won't be backed in this window and he'll walk.
Couldn't happen to a better club.
No.
Yeah,
I just think Spurs are Spurs and nobody likes them.
Moving on.
They can concede 2 goals out of nowhere, and then it's what I've said with Jono, us last season with United. We used to concede first in every game last season and have to come back to it. You're always setting yourself up to fail when you have to come back into a game in every single match.
Yeah. I agree. Next we had, I like this one, Brentford 3, Liverpool 1. Liverpool's season of disaster continues, and I love it.
But I thought the season started when they came back from the World Cup.
They didn't get that memo. Obviously their squad is still so weak in defenders. They're in midfield. They just haven't got a midfield. That's the issue. Brentford, great result again. Over to you, Rush. Let's start with you.
Well, Brentford again. It's. I think they're just. I think at the moment obviously, as I said, we're playing them on Saturday, and I think actually they'll probably fancy the FA Cup this year because they're in a position where they're probably not going to challenge for the big European places. But actually, if they win half a dozen games, they could be in Europe next year. So that's obviously the next step for them. So I haven't got much hope for us on Saturday against them, to be honest. So I think we won't prioritise the FA Cup this year. But I think Brentford are a good shout to do something in the FA Cup this year, I reckon. Yeah,
definitely. And over to you, Chris. Do you think?
Not much else to say apart from VAR getting involved yet again with some dubious, I would say, decisions. But that's why we love football. We love a talking point.
Yeah, definitely. And I still want to get a ref on the show. So if anyone knows a ref that wants to come on our show and to explain some of these VAR decisions,
I have to talk about. I love Liverpool fans. So when they came back and they beat Villa and then somehow beat Leicester City with those crazy 2-0. And then they're coming back, the top 4 charge and maybe title charges back on, and then Brentford come along. Brentford without Ivan Toney too, without their main goal scorer.
Yeah, Liverpool can't even dream of a title this season.
And it could have been worse because Brentford did score 4 goals in that first half, but 2 were ruled off. So
yeah. And I saw one comment. Someone commented, obviously on Carragher's comments at the start of last season about Martinez, that our defence was too short, so that's why we played so bad against Brentford. So is their defence too tall? There was
and it,
was
it
the
doesn't
first-
it doesn't get easier for Liverpool as their next 2 games they play Brighton and then Chelsea.
They'll breeze past Chelsea.
No, that's the 2 poor teams this season. The battle against each other, Chris.
Yeah, I actually think you'll win that one.
And they play Wolves like twice, one in the cup and one in the league.
We all love Liverpool struggling. So we'll move on after that. Main segment of the week. We've got Russ here from the West Ham Network, DJ at the West Ham. Before we go into the subject, I think we'll do this way around. Did you want to explain what you do with the West Ham Network and being the DJ at West Ham, and then we'll go into our subject?
Sure. So obviously, much like you guys, we've got the West Ham Network, which is our YouTube channel. And obviously website as well. We probably specialise in interviewing loads of ex-players. We've had about over 100 ex-players, ex-West Ham players on the channel. We do a bit of everything, really. Like everyone else, bit of watch-along, bit of reviews, opinion shows and lots of like interviews with stuff. It's really interactive. I love it. I do love it. It's good fun. And it's very different from, I think, other things out there. We try to do things a little bit differently than sort of the normal West Ham content out there. So it's quite cool. So check it out. We've got who have we got? We tend to have an ex-player on every week, so we'll have one on next week. I won't say who it is, but we should. But you have to tune in. That's how you do it. You see, you leave them hanging for more. So that's what we do. But
you keep them intrigued.
But what we try and do is we try and do live interviews. So we do things like this. So using the same platform as you guys do, and so we give opportunities for viewers to ask questions, and we ask them directly. If we're interviewing Julian Dix, or we're interviewing David James or someone like that, it gives the fans can have an opportunity to ask them a question directly, and that's really cool. And that's something which is sort of quite unique, really. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes we have to do pre-records, as you know, with these types of things. But the majority try and get people live because it just gives that extra, sort of community spirit. But then obviously, for the last 22 years, I've been spinning the discs at West Ham. I know I don't look old enough, but so I'm the matchday DJ at West Ham. So I did it at the old bowling ground at London Stadium. So every time you're listening to Match of the Day or Sky Sports, whatever, and you hear some music being played, or you hear I'm for Blow Bubbles being played, or that's me. And I'm a West Ham fan by heart. Was born into it. Was a season ticket holder for many years before I did it, and I get to work and I get to work for my club that I love and supported for all my life. So I'm very privileged to be doing that. It's great. It's great fun to be part of something like that. Feel part of a club, and we have great fun. As I said, it was very strange for the Brentford game, and the fact that I was on holidays, so someone else had to fill in for me. So I felt like I was being cheated on. It was very strange, very bizarre. I was trying to listen out to the music, thinking, okay, what playlist is he playing? Okay, yes, please, okay. And I'm getting messages from people saying, Russ, the music's shit today. What's up with you? And I said, well, sorry. Sorry, I can't do it. I could probably log on to my Spotify and flick it over. I could have done it remotely, actually, thinking about it. Now in a pre-COVID world, post-COVID, I could probably do it remotely. But anyway, but no, it's great fun. It's great fun. I love it. The only thing is you have to get to the ground bloody early. So I'm for 3 o'clock kickoff, I'm there. Well, I actually do a show for the network beforehand, so I'm there so for 3 o'clock kickoff, I'm probably outside the ground at 9:30 doing a live show, a matchday morning show, trying to give the people, because we've got obviously we have fans all over the world, so obviously only 60,000 can go to the game. So what we try and do a matchday morning is give people the opportunity to feel like they're there, and albeit whether they're in Asia, in America, or wherever they are. So yeah, that means an early start for me, and then we start sort of 4 hours before kick off, checking all the bloody things again. Yeah, is Bubbles still working? Yeah, Bubbles is still working. Yeah, this is still working. This is still working. Right, now we've got 3.5 hours to wait now. Okay, but yeah, no, it's good fun. It is good fun, and yeah, I appreciate sort of a very privileged position to be doing it. So yeah, it's good fun. Good fun.
I mean, that's the main thing. Is as long as you enjoy, that's half the battle. Like you said, you're a fan, but if you enjoy doing that kind of stuff as well, you're like, right, I'm getting to do something for my club here as well. You're like, you're like a kid in the candy shop. You're literally, I'm here. I've been at both grounds. I brought the old to the new. It must be. I mean, in fact, how did you get into it? That's one of my questions.
So when I was at uni, I went to Loughborough, and the guy who was doing the announcing at West Ham at the time was a guy called Jeremy Nicholas, who used to do like Talk Sport, Channel 5. He used to do all this type of thing, and I actually emailed him asking for some advice. So I was thinking about becoming a sports journalist.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just popped in my head, so I thought I'd ask him. And at the time, he said, "Oh, come and give me a hand." He was at Talk Sport, being my runner at Talk Sport. You know, it was a Sunday night. I could come down. I come down for the games anyway because I was a West Ham fan. So I'd come and watch the normal 3 o'clock kickoff when we used to have normal 3 o'clock kickoffs. And before, no games at 3 o'clock on a Saturday anymore now. But anyway, so I used to drive down, obviously stay, and then drive back to Loughborough on this. It's only an hour and a half up the M1. So he then got sacked from TalkSport, as they tend to do. They tend to sack Blight Man, not recently, but every this was about 20 years ago, every 6 months they used to bring in a new sort of bunch of presenters.
Yeah.
But at the time, West Ham had developed, at the bowling ground, we had a new stand called, we affectionately called it the Rio stand. So it was the money that when we sold Rio Ferdinand to Leeds, went into buying this massive stand.
Yeah.
And Jeremy basically couldn't, and his box was where his pitch side was now up in the gods, and he went, "Oh, why don't you just come give me a hand at doing that?" And that was it. I just kept my head down, kept my nose clean, and just moved with the furniture to London Stadium. So yeah, it's been I tried to work it out the other day. I think I've been playing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles" over like 2,000 times or something ridiculous like that, at least. But it's great, and obviously, I'm part of history. I was the last person to play that song at the old ground, the first person to play it at the new ground.
Yeah.
And no one can take that away from me. And I think it's nice, particularly in a world where we were speaking about the Chelsea way and the West Ham way and things like that, and not having that sort of connection. I think a lot of the fans appreciate the fact that someone is a fan, is doing something which is they would like to do as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just a company coming in being a marketing thing and a standard DJ and I try and if people ask me, they might message me on Twitter as, "Oh, you couldn't play this song," I try and or
accommodate.
or it might be a West Ham band and we've got a new song out. Oh, it'd make my day. It takes me 1 second to download it and play it, but it means the world to some people.
Yeah.
And so,
it's exactly what the saying goes: like, find a job you enjoy doing, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's a long day. You think it is a whole day at work, and it's not my proper job, so to speak. And then obviously the YouTube stuff, it does sort of accommodate quite a lot of my life. And then I have a proper job, and I'm a dad as well, and I'm a husband. So he's like trying to do everything. So I don't know what the priorities are, but I love it. It pisses my wife off sometimes because we have better plans for a Sunday. Like, sorry, we're still in Europe, so we're playing on Sunday tonight. Sorry, love. But it's great fun. It's great fun, and as I said, it's something which I'm very privileged to do and to talk about. And I have to sometimes sort of be careful of how I talk about things, in terms of the regime, in terms of the ownership and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But me as a person is very much a half glass full type person. So I'm never going to sit there and slag off people because actually grass isn't always green on the other side. People talk about Moyes in, Moyes out. I've got an opinion which I'm happy to talk about, but I don't I'm not going to rant and rave about.
Yeah.
But if I call people, if we haven't played well, we haven't played well. It's not like it's I'm a fan as well.
Everyone's got their own opinions about how things are run. I mean, especially kind of West Ham and any club basically. I mean, you've always got an opinion, especially because, like we said, you're a fan as well. A fan's opinions matters most to most people as well. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect segment into our subject of the week this week, which is West Ham season. Obviously, they're not after a couple of really good seasons near the European spots. I don't know if it's their squad depth or the manager or Did you want to get us started on what's gone wrong this season?
What's
for
gone
West Ham?
wrong? Well, I mean, if we go back. So obviously, in terms of the chronological timeline, so he moved to London Stadium. Slaven Bilic was the manager. It didn't work out with him in terms of the stadium move. David Moyes came in, saved them from relegation, and then rather than offering him a new contract, Pellegrini came in, spent a lot of money on people like Haller and Felipe Anderson. That didn't work out. Then Moisey came back in again and saved us, in terms of from relegation. And then after that, we had two phenomenal seasons in our history. So, having, after those 2 years, obviously we've qualified for Europe. And that's the first time we qualified for Europe in consecutive seasons due to our league position ever in our history. Yeah. We had some really, we teeter around sort of, usually relegation spots. So actually to be in the top 8, top 6, is in the Champions League spots.
And then that amazing Europa League run.
We had. It was incredible, and that was really unusual to us. And I think, if anything, that's probably exacerbated people's. That's a long word for Thursday, isn't it? Where did that come from? Who saw in the dictionary today? But for me, it's almost like maybe our expectations have gone a bit higher now. So it's almost like actually, traditionally, if you look through West Ham's history over the last, say, 20 years or so, we have one good season in 5. So for a really good season, if we go back, the last decent season before Moisey took over was probably the last season at the Bowling, where we finished just outside the places in terms of Champions League. We could have easily got Champions League that season, to be honest. And then we had shit seasons until basically Moisey came back in last one season and a good season. So having 2 consecutive good seasons is really unusual for us. And to be fair, the board should have invested, and Moisey should have bought some firepower last January when we really needed it. When we were coming into the run for the conference for the Europa League, and I think actually our league form went downhill because we were concentrating on the Europa League, which made perfect sense. We still finished in the places to qualify for the Conference League this year, which we've the first team ever in history to win all of our groups games. Although the conference only been going for 2 years, but it doesn't matter. But I think we had a massive step change in the summer, and we've spent £200 million on, or close to £200 million on 8 new players. We've gone out and bought Lucas Paqueta for £50 million, who's the Brazilian number 8. We went and bought Scamacca, who's the Italian number 9. We went and bought the German right back. We bought Areola. We bought Flynn Downs. We bought some really, really good players. Yeah, but we bought them quite late on in the transfer window, so they never really had time to bed in. And then Naya Figuered, who we bought from Rennes, he then gets injured in the pre-season, and he was like the big marquee defender. And that was where the issues, I think, have broken down. We haven't had this situation where, we've always nicked a goal. We've had a strong defence and nicked a goal. We've been quite fortunate, I think, in how we played in the last couple of years. And the luck's been on our side, and it hasn't been on our side. Where we might have 6 chances and convert 1 last year and the year before, now we're not even converting that 1. And that's the problem. And so it's a combination of things. And I think other teams, like the likes of Newcastle and stuff, are just riding high. Brentford are riding high. Brighton are riding high. And we've got ourselves in a bit of a hole at the moment.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because you look at Europe you're doing quite well in the Conference League at them compared to the league has not been the best, but the Conference League has done quite well.
We should do boom, to be honest, because actually the teams we're playing, no disrespect, and I think any Premier League side would probably have won all of our group games because we were playing lesser teams, and we were one of the
and Anderlecht was one of the stronger. It was your strongest opponent out of that group.
Yeah, exactly. So it was not surprising. We should have done that, and we did. And we're fortunate now where we've got. I mean, last season we had, we did really well on a very small squad. We didn't really have that. I mean, we've got the luxury now of kind of putting 2 teams out. So the team that plays Brentford on Saturday, that's going to be, I think, our sort of our conference side we'll put out because we can, and that's quite nice. But I think you don't get that consistency because you're almost chopping and changing all the time. And I think also we've had a change of Declan Rice has played in a more advanced role this season, with Thomas Souček playing more of a defensive, and it hasn't worked. And I don't know why we did that. The Leeds game...
Very much a learning for Samaka as well.
Exactly.
Into the league.
I mean, he's not getting the service. I mean, you go out and buy Maxwell Cornet, he would have been perfect, and he has got an injury and he's been out for a couple of months now with an injury. You think, if you put our side that we have on paper, you'd probably have Areola in goal, although Fabianski is our first choice at the moment. Our back four is strong. If it was all fit, you'd have Cresswell, who's his last couple of seasons, I think, with him. Never forget, you've got Kurt Zuma, you've got Tilo Kira right back, you've got Declan Rice, Paqueta, you've got Bowen, you've got Cornet, you've got Ben Rama, Fornals. You've got some really good players, but it just haven't gelled. It's almost too much. If we got 3 players in last January and 5 in the summer, that would have probably been a fair way of doing it. But it's just all too much at the moment. And as I said, the main thing I think is we've reverted. So the Leeds game last night, we played a lot better, although we still conceded goals, which is an issue with us at the moment. But we had Declan Rice playing in a defensive role rather than his preferred role, which is he likes to be a box-to-box defender, a midfielder. But if he goes to Chelsea, if he goes to City, if he goes to Real Madrid, he's not going to be a box-to-box. He's going to be playing the role that he plays for in England. So it's a bit more reverting back to type now. So I think we'll be fine. We ain't going to go down. As you said, there's at least 3 worse teams than us this season. For us, it's conference and bust. We have to win the conference to qualify for Europe next year.
I mean, my question to you, Russ, was regarding, you kind of alluded to it there, is Declan Rice. Do you think giving him the captaincy straight after Mark Noble had worn that band for so many years was the right move, with all the speculation going around his future at West Ham?
Yeah, I mean, last 2 seasons he's been the team captain. Yeah, Dec has, and with Mark as the club captain. That's a massive issue as well. I think we had this in the summer. Obviously, losing Mark after 18 years at the club, playing for the club, a massive presence, a massive leadership presence. Yeah, we haven't got that. Now, obviously, Mark's come back as sporting director. He started 3 days ago, back in the club as sporting director. So that's it's almost like it's almost like a desperation, I thought, in terms of that appointment. He's done a 5-week course or whatever in Stanford or Harvard, and now he's sporting director. But what he brings to the club is he brings that West Hamness, like you were saying about the Chelsea-ness. We lost that, and so. That's it's different being a team captain than a club captain. Yeah. Club captain, you're going to see Betty the tea lady. You're going to see the kids play, and that takes time to become that person. And Dec's not that person yet. He's still a young lad. He's 23. He's played a couple of 100 games, for the Premier League and the international games combined. So it's a lot of pressure to have on someone's shoulders, particularly a team that's not doing well at the moment as well. Yeah. So there has been a lot of criticism about him on social media, and he's actually gone out and responded to it, on his Instagram and on his Twitter, which I sort of half agree and half don't agree, because are you just opening up the door for more idiots to shout at you? Yeah. But he's a very savvy bloke, Dec. He's a top boy. He's a lovely guy, and I think it's just taking time. It's silly things like when obviously I was during lockdown, I was still doing the music, despite the fact that there was no fucker there. We still had all the music and the videos and and I'm watching it to an empty stadium. But the team was so together. They were so tight knit. They had this real togetherness, this real passion, and you can really feel that team spirit. The most team spirit I felt for years with a club. That's not there at the moment, and that alongside with half 2/3 of the squad not playing in form as well. It's just adding all these different layers, and you've had a lot of backroom changes. People like Stuart Pearce, who was a real influence at the club, he left. Alan Irvine left, and they brought in others. And again, it's just it's too much.
Too much happening.
At the same time.
Too much happening.
That's it. I think that's the issue. And obviously, losing 5 Premier League games in a row, the crowd are going to be on the backs, and then Moyes has got quite a negative attitude we talk about negative attitudes in terms of Conte's style of football.
Yeah.
Moyes, he's always had that, and he's tried to, by buying people like Paqueta, Skamaka, Cornet, he's tried to put a different slant, but it's not worked because the players haven't been there yet, and they haven't been there long enough. It's frustrating. It is frustrating because you look at it on paper, and teams would die for the squad that we've got.
Yeah.
We talk about Bournemouth, the team we've got now. Yeah. Although they've just been taken over, haven't they? So they could have a bit of dollar in the Championship.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, so we'll be fine. I'm not worried about relegation this year. It's almost like we've seen out the season. It's conference or bust. We have to, because being back in Europe we're back in Europa League if we win that.
I do think you have a high chance to win that, given the teams that are in the conference.
We should do. We should do. I mean, you've still got Villarreal, who's still there. You've still got the likes of Fiorentina, is still there. You've still got some big clubs there. But, obviously, the way I love the way the conference and the Europa League works out. You win the group stages, you get a bye, and then you're seeded. So we know we're going to be at home in the last 16, so that's great. Home at the last game, so that works well. Again, that was a new thing, Europe, and we had some great nights last year. Sevilla at Upton Park, I wish. London Stadium was phenomenal. Lyon, going away to Lyon and turning them over.
That was a great result.
And I think people got a taste for it now. And I don't want to go all Spursy and think that we should be, but that's why I think some of our fans are a bit Spursy at the moment. They've had a taste of it and they like that taste and they want more.
Do you think your board will stick with Moyes even if the results go like they have been going this season? Do you think?
Well, I think there is he's. I mean, that's why I'm not a Moyes in. I'm not a Moyes out. I'm a realist. I sit on the fence with splinters up my bum, but that's what I am. I've always been like that. I'd always back whoever's in the dugout, whoever's on the pitch. When people say I want us to lose, so David Moyes gets the sack, I don't agree with that at all. Because that makes no sense to me. But for me, I think they'll probably see out the season with him, unless there's a massive downturn, and then be reassessed in the summer. The passing of David Gold does maybe put some, because he was a very pro Moyes person. Yeah. But then we don't know about that, and I'm not going to even talk about that. The gentleman hasn't even been buried yet. We're talking about who's going to own the car and stuff like that. But I think there's, it's almost like, I think there'll have to be, to lose 5 Premier League games in a row and not be sacked, that to me means that there's still a lot of confidence for him. The fact that someone like Mark Noble coming in as sporting director, he's a massive fan of David Moyes. Yeah. So it's almost like an ally. And I think a little bit of Nobes walking about, just geeing people up, just having a word will make a massive impact on that side.
Like you said, I would give Declan a bit more of a person to go to.
Yeah.
To have say, right, how did you do this? So I can maybe adapt it to myself, or like for the younger ones that's coming through, that maybe like you said, boy Flynn Downs. You've got Skamaka. Isn't Skamaka quite young as well?
He's just turned 24.
He's moved from Italy during COVID times.
Yeah.
Maybe his family's maybe now probably maybe his whole family. Right. He's moving from Sassuolo, wasn't it? Move, then to West Ham, who is a big club, massive club in England, with all the history, etc. But it takes time for these players to bed in.
It does.
But do you think Moyes will be back in January? That's the question. Do you think he has to be?
I think he'll be back in January. He's come out and said he said 2 things. Well, there's been lots of conflicting stories. I think another issue is that basically Moyes, when he first came in, he stopped the leaks. There was a lot of leaks under the Pellegrini with the chairman's son or whatever tweeting about who's coming in, stuff like that. It was almost like they were the ITKs. He stopped that, and I think that frustrated a lot of people because they don't know what's going on, and all they're hearing is. And then journalists make up names. Obviously I cover all the transfer news, and at West Ham through the channel. I think last year we had 168 players we were linked with during the summer. So that's pretty much like most of the Premier League.
That's just
like
Chelsea on a daily basis.
Exactly, yeah. But it's literally journalists are like scrabbling around for anything, putting two and two together, and and I think that frustrated people. Go, oh, we were linked with, oh, we didn't get him, like Badashili, we were linked with him. Oh, we didn't get him. Well, who knows? We were actually linked with him, so I think that frustrated people. But I mean, we're doing some good stuff. We've bought, when Pellegrini came in, I think people forget where we come from. Pellegrini had Huselos, who was the sort of director of football. He had his son as the coach, not coach, as a scout, and literally everything was on paper, like binders. As soon as he was sacked, everything was gone. So Moisey turns up, cupboards bare, no scouting set up, no nothing, and he's built it from the ground up. Now we've got people like Rob Newman in as head of recruitment, full Man City head of recruitment. He's brought in people like Grant Holt, the wrestler, probably Norwich City striker, as some scouts and a few other players as well, ex-players. We've got the academy has been sorted, so every year group of the academy has an ex-West Ham player in there from like the 90s, basically, or people like Colton Cole and Zavon Hines and people like that. Yeah. So there's he's built up a lot behind the scenes, analytics, things like that, which we haven't had, and I think people don't give him enough credit for that. But I think he'll have to be backed. I mean, in January we'll see what happens. I mean, the talk of maybe Vladimir Soufal leaving to buy Leverkusen. That we've got a young lad called Harrison Ashby, who I think is Scotland under 21 right back. Absolute mustard. I think he's the next big thing, but doesn't want to play for West Ham, it seems, and might be going to Newcastle.
I signed him for Salford in Football Manager. He's very, very good.
Oh, he's pucker. He's pucker. I mean, I remember seeing him as an 18-year-old, and the way he walked, you knew he was a good player. He had this confidence. He was bow-legged already at 18, and he's brilliant. And I'm gutted that we're not seeing more of him. Right back is an issue. Left back is an issue as well for us. And that sort of second striker, because Antonio's legs are gone. Basically, he's 33 now, and so if a bargain comes up, then I think he'll be backed. But I don't think there'll be loads.
Do you think if Moyes was to stay, do you think he should go for a player like Ivan Toney?
Well, we were offered him when he was at Peterborough for 10 million quid. I mean, and we never. I mean, he would have been brilliant. When you look at until maybe the last 12 months, you look at someone like Ben Rama. We bought him for £25 million. And you think, well, would the money be better spent for Ivan Toney? I mean, Moyes has spent so long finding that striker, and actually now, I mean, Skamaka is mustard. The boy is brilliant. He's hold up play. He scored a great goal yesterday, and that's his first Premier League goal. But he's I think he's scored 6 or 7 already this season in Europe. He's mustard.
He's volley.
He's mustard. He's mustard.
A good player.
But you've got to give him service. If he hasn't given him service, then you're not going to. And that's the issue. I think with Ivan Toney would have been great. I mean, we were linked today with Danny Ings. Not a bad plan B striker.
But you're looking for a guy who's going to back up Skamaka, maybe get 10, 15 goals here or there. Yeah. Is Danny Ings going to be that kind of player?
No,
probably not.
No. But again, we've never really had I mean, Antonio is our top Premier League goal scorer of all time, and it was only until maybe 2 or 3 years ago that he got prolific, and Moisey moved him to a striker. Basically, we're talking about man management. He was under Slaven Bilic, he was right back, right wing. He wasn't, then he went up front, and he was just a beast. And he sort of had he's had his sort of Indian summer now. He's coming, down to. I mean, he's 33, relies on pace, and. Now because we haven't had a striker for so long after Sebastian Haller, that now we've got a striker. I can see how I don't like Antonio as much now, because actually you look at there was the Brentford game was brilliant. Skamaka, he did this shot outside the box in the second half where it was like a hammer, and it went, and it's like the keeper just had to react. It was so fast, and then literally 2 minutes later, Antonio tried to do the same thing, it seemed, and beat himself. He sort of he did like a 1-2 off himself. I don't know what he was doing, but I love Antonio for what he brings. He brings personality in a game. Football now is so sterile. It's so boring, in terms of characters. He's a character, but I just think for me, it's about having. I really just hope. You can see the plans. It's so frustrating. You can see. So when we signed Naya Fagerd, we wanted him last summer, but we went for Kurt Zuma. So now this summer we get Naya Fagerd. You think them two perfect? They'll be a great duo together. Then you're thinking Maxwell Cornet on the left, Bowen on the right, perfect. But then Bowen's been off the pace this season. Thomas Souček's been off the pace this season. As I said 2/3 of our squad have been off the pace this season.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so strange. So strange.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think you'll be fine this season.
We'll be fine.
Yeah. So, last segment we have got is over to our boom for.
Yes, fantasy is back, and we just finished the last game for the fantasy this week, and Chelsea Man City didn't do too well points wise. As Chris runs away because I mentioned City again. Yeah, it happens. But surprisingly, Harry Kane is not in my dead books this week. He got very good points. 16, in fact, which I was very surprised at.
2 seconds.
In our own league, the way last week I said Summer crawled up into the third place in that list.
Yeah.
She has now moved again to second.
Ooh.
And she is on the charge to catch GG513, who's currently our leader for the competition for that. She's had a very good end captaining Mitrovic this week for the and Andreas for the double week between that they have to play Chelsea then the Wings, so going for those double points.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she didn't capitalize on more points because she has Darwin Núñez. Not exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why you got no.
Does have Lucian Rashford, who had very good points.
Rashford's just a must at the moment, isn't it?
Sadly for our top person, GG, he had a bunch of Arsenal players and a bunch of Newcastle players who drew 0-0, so not the greatest points. And he captained Haaland, who didn't do anything today, so not the greatest points. And he also had Darwin Núñez. It's a Darwin Núñez team today in fantasy. Everyone seems to have Darwin. I wonder why.
I can confirm.
Maybe people thought Brentford would not.
So,
would you like to know the player dead to me?
Yeah,
Go
who's
for it.
dead to you this week?
The player dead to me this week, I've already mentioned him, is Erling Haaland. Can't even score 1 goal against Chelsea. He's a fraud.
Yeah, fraud. Yeah. Sell him.
Get him out of that club.
And how is the team doing this week?
I can tell you that still at the bottom is Jether. Gormy is still second bottom. He still has not taken out Jesus from his team.
Very poor. Go on, man.
And had Kulusevski in there too. So he had 2 players that didn't even play. And he still has Reece James, so he's not as mad.
I might have not updated my team.
He also has Mohamed Salah as captain. And Darwin Núñez, would you believe it? It's a Darwin Núñez team once again. Everyone seems to love Darwin Núñez.
It does seem that way.
And we'll go to you, John. You did have Ruben Diaz, which didn't play.
Yeah, I haven't updated my name.
I did it, Ederson, who got you the clean sheet, so, And you had Saliba, who did quite well. The Newcastle assets did not do you well this week. They didn't do anyone well this week with that 0-0. Almiron with just getting 2 points. Not his usual form.
You know I love Almiron.
I know you do. You've mentioned him many times. And not surprisingly, there is no Jack Grealish in your team. Your vice captain did very well. 16 points for Harry Kane. Your captain Holland, fraud, like I've already said. And you had Martinez. You kind of expected him to start, but no. Ten Hag said, no, he's on the bench. He's coming off for just 1 point. And you had Lloris on your bench. Good thing you put him on the bench.
Definitely.
And that's pretty much it for the most thing. Like, we'll see if Summer can hold on to second place or if she can go and take a dash to the prize of that print.
Yep. Remember the print. The winner does get a print from FM Hub. So thanks for watching, guys. Russ, where can we find you?
Just go to the West Ham Network on YouTube or Twitter, West Ham Network, or me, DJRussyB, all that type of stuff.
Or just go to a West Ham game, you'll hear
him. Or just go to the West Ham, look at the white box at the top, and you'll see me. We probably won't see me.
Yeah, Chris, where can we find you?
On YouTube and on here on the FM Football Nation podcast. Sorry, I was clearing my throat there, but yes.
Yes, and Boom, where can we find you?
And you can find me here on the Football Nation podcast. I can say the name of it, correct?
Yeah.
You can find me on YouTube with Boompool, and you can find me on Twitter and Twitch with CrazyBoom_.
Yep, and you know you can find me, jono.tv, everywhere, Road to Legends, and the Football Nation podcast. You've all been legends. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, turn that bell on so you never miss an upload. This has been your Football Nation, your home for all things football. See you next week.